In the shadowed corridors of lore and legend, whispers have always carried the weight of both terror and wonder. Tonight, we journey into the realm where myth meets nightmare, where an ancient force, long believed to have been vanquished, stirs once more in the dark. This is the story of Fiddlesticks, a name that has echoed through the ages as a harbinger of dread, a specter that transcends time, and a force that defies the natural order. But before we dive into the unfolding events and their intricate web of causality, let us set the stage for what is to come. Imagine a world not bound solely by the light of reason, but also haunted by shadows that twist reality. In this realm, the boundary between legend and reality blurs, and every murmur in the dark carries the potential for revelation. The events that led to the resurgence of Fiddlesticks are layered like the rings of an ancient tree, each ring encapsulating centuries of myth, mystery, and an undercurrent of inevitable fate. It is within these enigmatic layers that the origins of fear and fascination intertwine, forming the backdrop for an awakening that challenges our perceptions of mortality and the nature of dread. At its core, this narrative is not merely a recounting of events, but an invitation to witness the rebirth of an age-old terror, a terror that once loomed over a forgotten past, only to recede into the annals of history. The resurgence of Fiddlesticks is an event that compels us to reflect on the delicate balance between the known and the unknown. It reminds us that sometimes what lies dormant beneath the surface of our collective consciousness can resurface with an intensity that reshapes the very fabric of existence. In exploring this phenomenon, we are not just retracing footsteps along a well-worn path. We are venturing into uncharted territory where ancient energies and modern realities collide. This narrative is carefully crafted to evoke a sense of foreboding and anticipation, preparing the audience for a deep dive into a mystery that spans beyond mere chronology. The unfolding tale is one of cyclical returns, where past and present are interwoven in a tapestry of fate. The resurgence is not an isolated incident. It is a ripple in the continuum of time, a reminder that history is never truly dead, but merely lying in wait for the opportune moment to rise again. And now, as the first light of understanding pierces through the gloom, we are compelled to ask, what is it that stirs within the ancient darkness? What force drives this reawakening? There is an undeniable allure in confronting the inexplicable, a thrill in the face of what we cannot fully comprehend. In the quiet moments before the storm of revelation, we are left with an unsettling calm, a silence that speaks louder than any cacophony of modern clamor. This silence is not empty. It is pregnant with possibility, with the promise of secrets waiting to be unraveled. It sets the stage for the narrative that follows, a narrative where every echo from the past finds resonance in the present, and where every shadow hints at a truth too vast to ignore. As we stand on the threshold of this unfolding saga, it is crucial to grasp the essence of what has come before without being overwhelmed by the intricacies that lie ahead. The audience is invited to view the awakening of Fiddlesticks not simply as a revival of a forgotten entity, but as a phenomenon that challenges the boundaries of understanding itself. It is a phenomenon that raises questions about the nature of fear, the persistence of ancient evils, and the possibility that history may be doomed to repeat its darkest chapters. In the coming segments, we will peel back the layers of this mystery piece by piece. Each part will illuminate a different facet of the enigma, from the players involved to the chain of events that culminated in this moment of resurgence. However, in this prologue, our purpose is singular: to set the tone, to prime the mind for the revelations that will follow, and to evoke a sense of anticipation that something monumental is stirring in the depths of time. Tonight, as we step into the labyrinth of legend and lore, prepare to be immersed in a narrative that is as much about the eternal struggle between light and dark as it is about the re-emergence of a fearsome force. The stage is set, the whispers have begun, and the darkness is on the move. Welcome to the mystery of Fiddlesticks, a mystery that promises to unsettle, to provoke, and ultimately to transform the way we perceive the interplay between the past and the present. Fiddlesticks' return has drawn together a range of distinct entities, each occupying a unique niche in the unfolding phenomenon. At the heart of this occurrence is the ancient force itself, a presence that embodies the very essence of dread and disruption. This force serves as the catalyst for events that reverberate across both mystical and mortal realms, standing as a timeless reminder of what lurks beneath the veneer of order. Among those compelled to respond is a collective of scholars and lore keepers whose duty is to safeguard the records of history. These custodians of the past have long tended to cryptic manuscripts and whispered prophecies, preserving the fragments of forgotten knowledge. Their role is to serve as memory keepers, ensuring that every inked symbol and half-remembered tale is available to illuminate the origins of the resurgence. They remain detached from the fray, instead acting as silent witnesses whose records may someday guide the resolution of events. Operating in the concealed fringes of society are a cadre of spectral sentinels, a group whose existence is interwoven with the fabric of ancient rituals. These watchers have dedicated themselves to monitoring the flow of arcane energies that once heralded calamity. Their vigilance is not born of ambition, but of a solemn duty to note every tremor in the cosmic balance. With an eye toward the subtle shifts in the ethereal currents, they provide an interpretive framework that helps to delineate the parameters of the coming storm. Another influential faction is composed of warriors drawn from disparate corners of the realm. These fighters, united under a banner of protection, are tasked with confronting the tangible manifestations of the terror that has awoken. They stand as a physical counterweight to forces that operate beyond the mortal plane, embodying a readiness to clash with whatever aberrations arise. Their commitment is marked by a readiness for sacrifice, and they symbolize the unyielding human instinct to resist the encroachment of uncontrollable chaos. In parallel, a group of devoted recorders and chroniclers has emerged, entrusted with the mission of documenting every nuance of this dramatic resurgence. Their role extends beyond mere transcription. They are the narrators who stitch together the myriad fragments of history, myth, and current events into a cohesive account. Every observation and every encounter is meticulously logged, not for immediate intervention, but to provide a comprehensive archive that future generations might study to prevent similar upheavals. Not all factions view the reawakening with alarm. There exists a sect that interprets the stirring of ancient forces as a transformative omen, an opportunity to upend established orders and herald radical change. These adherents advocate for a re-evaluation of traditions and power structures, seeing the phenomenon as a necessary correction to a stagnant status quo. Their influence lies in the realm of ideas and conviction, urging society to consider that what has risen might pave the way for a reimagined future. Bridging disparate interests are alliances formed by communities that, while not steeped in ancient lore or armed with supernatural prowess, feel an intrinsic connection to the unfolding mystery. These groups are comprised of local leaders, spiritual guides, and everyday citizens who have been stirred by inexplicable signs. Their collective role is to act as a network, connecting the esoteric with the pragmatic. They provide the societal underpinnings that allow other factions to operate effectively, ensuring that every dramatic shift is felt at the grassroots level. There is also an assembly of seers and mystics, individuals who claim to perceive the deeper truths encoded in the fabric of existence. They are the interpreters of cryptic omens and the decipherers of symbolic dreams. Far removed from the instruments of war or bureaucracy, their significance lies in their ability to read between the lines of fate. They offer guidance that is neither prescriptive nor reactive, but rather a contemplative perspective on how the resurgence might realign the cosmic order. Finally, an informal network of dissenters and outcasts has coalesced around the phenomenon. These individuals, often sidelined by mainstream institutions, bring a raw and unfiltered perspective to the situation. Their role is characterized by an inherent skepticism toward established narratives and they serve as a counterbalance to the more dogmatic or institutionalized groups. Unburdened by the weight of tradition or the constraints of hierarchy, they inject a critical, albeit disruptive, energy into the conversation surrounding the reemergence. Each of these participants contributes to a multifaceted tableau that frames the resurgence of Fiddlesticks as not merely an isolated event, but as an intricate interplay of diverse forces. Their roles range from keepers of ancient wisdom and chroniclers of unfolding events to defenders of order, proponents of radical change, and critics of conventional wisdom. Together, they form a complex mosaic that encapsulates the profound and far-reaching impact of a power reawakened after countless ages of dormancy. For centuries, the undercurrents of change had been quietly shifting, setting in motion a cascade of events that ultimately paved the way for the reemergence of a long-dormant terror. This reawakening was not sudden or inexplicable. It was the result of subtle alterations in the fabric of time and nature that over generations culminated in a tipping point beyond which the balance could no longer be maintained. Layers of ancient neglect, forgotten warnings, and evolving natural phenomena interwove to create the conditions necessary for this profound upheaval. In the earliest whispers of change, the natural order began to exhibit unusual fluctuations. Unseasonal weather patterns, inexplicable disturbances in the landscape, and anomalies in the cycles of day and night all hinted at a deeper discord. As the environment deviated from its established rhythms, the seeds of discontent were sown. These irregularities did not immediately alarm the denizens of the realm. Rather, they were dismissed as fleeting curiosities or the inevitable outcomes of a world in perpetual flux. Yet, beneath this veneer of benign anomalies, forces that had long lain dormant were gathering strength. Parallel to these environmental shifts, the collective memory of ancient traditions and long-held beliefs experienced a gradual erosion. Over time, the oral and written records that once chronicled the arrival and departure of mysterious phenomena faded from the forefront of cultural consciousness. With each passing generation, the lessons of the past became increasingly obscured by the relentless march of progress and modern rationality. In their place, a new paradigm took hold, one that celebrated the tangible and measurable, dismissing anything that could not be subjected to empirical scrutiny. This cultural shift, while propelling society forward in many respects, inadvertently stripped away the cautionary tales and mythic warnings that might have prepared the world for what was to come. Amidst this transformation, the very mechanisms of communication and information dissemination evolved, often at the expense of the nuanced and layered accounts of old. Digital archives, streamlined narratives, and sanitized histories replaced the rich tapestry of folklore that had once served as a repository of humanity's encounters with the uncanny. In this vacuum, the intricate connections between the mundane and the mystical became obscured, leaving a void where ancient vigilance had once flourished. Consequently, subtle signs that might have been interpreted as omens of impending change were now lost in a sea of trivial updates and instant news flashes, their significance diminished by an overwhelming focus on the present. The gradual disengagement from the old ways was compounded by a growing dissonance within the societal structures themselves. As institutions reformed and new ideologies took root, long-established systems of belief and authority began to crumble. This fragmentation created an opening for forces that thrived in the interstices of order and chaos. The careful equilibrium maintained over millennia was disrupted by an undercurrent of ambition, skepticism, and disillusionment, a fertile ground in which the latent energies of forgotten lore could resurface. As conventional safeguards weakened, the resilience of ancient powers was no longer held in check by the rigid frameworks of a bygone era. Beneath the surface of these societal and environmental shifts lay an accumulation of unresolved tensions that stretched back through history. Discrepancies in ancient records, lingering doubts about mythic prophecies, and a pervasive uncertainty regarding the true nature of cosmic order all contributed to a growing sense of inevitability. These disquieting questions, once the subject of scholarly debate and cautious interpretation, gradually coalesced into a narrative of impending transformation. The absence of a unifying perspective allowed disparate theories and half-remembered traditions to gain traction, creating a climate in which skepticism toward established order was not only accepted but expected. In the final stages before the resurgence, the natural and cultural phenomena converged into a singular moment of reckoning. The cumulative effects of environmental instability, cultural amnesia, and institutional decay reached a critical mass, rendering the protective barriers that had contained ancient power increasingly porous. It was in this crucible of change that the latent force stirred, as if awakened by the collective dissonance that had been allowed to fester over centuries. The interplay between subtle natural disturbances and the quiet collapse of historical continuity set the stage for an emergence that would upend the familiar and challenge the very foundations of understanding. Thus, the reawakening was not the result of a single catalyst, but a symphony of gradual shifts, a convergence of environmental irregularities, cultural transitions, and systemic disintegration. Each factor, seemingly innocuous in isolation, had played its part in orchestrating a scenario in which the dormant could not remain silent. In retrospect, every anomaly, every forgotten warning, and every overlooked detail contributed to an inevitable transformation that reshaped the contours of existence, heralding the return of a force that history had long sought to bury. From the first hint of irregular activity, a series of distinct phases unfolded that collectively paved the way for the current phenomenon. Initially, the landscape of events was marked by subtle disturbances that were almost imperceptible, a gentle shift in atmospheric conditions, a series of odd coincidences that defied conventional explanation. In this early period, minor anomalies appeared sporadically, manifesting in both nature and human affairs, hinting at an underlying change without providing clear evidence of its true scope. As time advanced, these preliminary occurrences began to synchronize in ways that suggested a more deliberate progression. Reports emerged of peculiar happenings that challenged established expectations, as if the world were gradually loosening the constraints that had kept ancient forces at bay. This phase was characterized by an incremental intensification of events, where isolated instances coalesced into a pattern of escalating phenomena. Unexplained disturbances in the environment, unexpected fluctuations in public sentiment, and sudden lapses in everyday order signaled a transition from mere irregularity to a discernible shift in the equilibrium. Soon after, a critical stage of expansion set in. During this interval, the emerging disturbances grew more pronounced and began to impact various layers of society. Communication channels buzzed with accounts of odd happenings, and communities started to observe that the seemingly random anomalies were in fact connected by an invisible thread. In this stage, the progression of events was marked by a transformation in the rhythm of daily life. Ordinary occurrences were punctuated by moments of uncanny intensity, and a growing number of instances hinted at an inevitable convergence of forces. The collective awareness of these developments spread gradually, fostering a cautious curiosity that permeated both local neighborhoods and broader regions. In the subsequent phase, the transformation assumed a more structured cadence. The phenomena evolved from sporadic and isolated incidents into a series of interconnected episodes that traced a discernible timeline. As each successive event built upon the previous one, there emerged an unmistakable narrative arc that underscored the inexorable pull of an underlying agenda. This period was notable for its progression from subtle hints to overt manifestations, a series of episodes that left little room for doubt about the fundamental alterations taking place. Observers noted that every event seemed to set the stage for the next, forming a chain reaction that accelerated the pace of change across multiple domains. Following this period of accelerated evolution, the sequence of events entered a phase characterized by dramatic escalation and widespread ramifications. Actions that once appeared isolated were now part of a larger unfolding drama, each incident interlocking with others to create a mosaic of cause and effect that spread throughout various sectors of life. This stage was defined by the rapid succession of key moments that catalyzed further developments, leading to a critical mass of activity that reverberated across different spheres. The intensity of the events reached a level where the momentum was self-sustaining, carrying forward a wave of transformation that seemed to have little chance of abatement. Concurrently, an undercurrent of awareness began to consolidate among those who were acutely attuned to the shifts in the world's fabric. During this segment of the evolution, the pace of events was mirrored by a parallel rise in the collective recognition that something profound was at work. As signals became more frequent and unambiguous, the sense of an impending climax grew stronger, setting the stage for a decisive juncture in the sequence of events. This phase was not marked by a singular event, but rather by a continuous buildup of energy and anticipation that made it clear the process was nearing a point of significant transformation. In the final leg of this chronological sequence, the series of developments had matured into a full-blown progression that connected all the earlier phases without any abrupt discontinuity. The careful accumulation of minor incidents, steadily amplified over time, had now reached a level where the system could no longer maintain its previous equilibrium. Every incremental shift contributed to an overarching narrative that culminated in a transformation both profound and far-reaching. Although the culmination of these events marked a turning point that would be examined more closely later, this stage stands on its own as a testament to the gradual yet inexorable march of change. Throughout these phases, the evolution of events has been driven by a dynamic interplay of factors that shifted the underlying order in measurable and sometimes startling ways. Each stage, from the initial subtle signs to the eventual cascade of dramatic occurrences, contributed uniquely to the emergence of the current state of affairs. The progression was neither linear nor haphazard. It unfolded in carefully layered steps that mirrored the inherent complexity of the forces involved. The narrative of these stages is not simply a list of disconnected moments, but rather a cohesive and evolving journey, a path that has steadily led from gentle beginnings to a scenario where the fabric of reality itself is visibly reconfiguring. This chronology, marked by its clear stages of transformation, encapsulates the unfolding process that has brought the phenomenon to its present intensity. It stands as a record of the gradual buildup of effects that, when viewed together, create a vivid picture of change that is as inevitable as it is transformative. In the midst of a slowly intensifying storm of disturbances and subtle shifts, one decisive moment emerged that irrevocably altered the course of events. This moment was not marked by a dramatic confrontation or overt display of power, but rather by a single, carefully measured decision that resonated deeply across all realms of existence. At a time when the cumulative effects of gradual changes had reached a critical mass, a select assembly of wise arbiters and reflective guardians, whose identities had largely remained obscured until now, recognized that the persistent alterations could no longer be ignored. In a secluded gathering away from the prying eyes of the world, these individuals came together with the intention of charting a course through the uncertainty that had enveloped their reality. The decision they arrived at was both a desperate bid to reclaim control and an acknowledgement of a truth that had long been suppressed. Recognizing that the dormant force, whose resurgence had been hinted at by decades of inexplicable events, posed an existential threat as well as an opportunity for transformative renewal, the Assembly opted to undertake a course of action that would serve as a fulcrum for change. In a moment of deliberate clarity, the group resolved that the only way to address the rising tension was to initiate a process of containment and redirection. Rather than attempting to extinguish the reawakened power entirely, a feat that history had shown to be fraught with unpredictable consequences, they decided to engage with it on terms that would harness its latent energy without allowing it to spiral into uncontrolled chaos. This resolution was built upon the understanding that the inherent nature of the force defied conventional categorization. It was an anomaly that existed between the boundaries of old legends and contemporary realities, a phenomenon that both frightened and intrigued those who had witnessed its subtle stirrings. The decision-makers deliberated extensively, weighing the risks of confrontation against the potential benefits of transformation. They came to the consensus that the force must be neither allowed to run rampant nor be met with outright hostility. Instead, it required a measured response that could redirect its influence toward fostering a new balance. This decision represented a radical shift away from previously held assumptions about the inescapability of ancient powers and their ultimate role as mere harbingers of doom. The choice to engage in a controlled dialogue with the Force was unprecedented. It was a turning point that embodied both an act of courage and an exercise in profound restraint. The Assembly recognized that conventional methods of intervention, whether through brute strength, rigid containment, or the complete eradication of the influence, had historically led to unintended repercussions that rippled through the fabric of their world. Instead, they resolved to establish a series of protocols designed to interact with the Force, monitoring its fluctuations and channeling its disruptive energy into avenues that might yield constructive change. In doing so, they sought to convert an element of fear into a catalyst for renewal, redefining the relationship between the ancient and the modern. The implications of this decision were far-reaching. Once the resolution was formally endorsed, a chain of actions was set in motion that signified a break from the inertia of the past. The decision did not simply signal an end to inaction. It actively reoriented the trajectory of all subsequent events. A network of carefully coordinated measures was activated to facilitate a controlled engagement with the Force. Specialized protocols were implemented, focusing on observation, analysis, and, crucially, communication. The aim was to establish an interface, an intermediary realm of interaction, through which the dormant energy could be translated into signals that the current order might understand and, ultimately, manage. This decisive act was not without its detractors. Among the broader community, there were voices of dissent that viewed any attempt to harness an ancient, unpredictable power as a dangerous gamble. However, the arbiters defended their choice by emphasizing the necessity of proactive intervention in the face of overwhelming inevitability. They argued that the slow and steady progression of subtle disturbances had rendered passive resistance an untenable option. The decision to engage represented not only a pragmatic response to an escalating situation, but also a philosophical commitment to the belief that even the most formidable forces could be integrated into the evolving tapestry of existence if approached with wisdom and foresight. The key moment was, in essence, a convergence of insight and resolve, a recognition that the path forward required an embrace of complexity rather than a retreat into simplistic binaries of good and evil. The decision-makers understood that the force in question carried with it both destructive and transformative potential, and that a balanced response was the only viable way to secure a future where ancient energies did not spell the end of everything familiar. Their decision has since served as a cornerstone for all ensuing actions, setting in motion strategies and responses that continue to define the dynamic relationship between the reawakened power and the current order. In that single transformative moment, the fate of a realm was recalibrated, marking a turning point that continues to echo through every subsequent development in this unfolding saga. The resurgence set off a chain reaction that rippled through the very fabric of existence, creating immediate and profound disturbances that reshaped both the physical and metaphysical landscapes. The universe, once thought to be governed by predictable cycles and stable laws, found itself in the grip of a chaotic surge that challenged every assumption about order and permanence. At the forefront of this upheaval was an alteration in the interplay between energy and matter, where the revived presence exerted its influence in a manner that was both subtle and overwhelming. In regions that had long been considered bastions of stability, an unanticipated flux emerged in the ambient energy fields. These areas experienced shifts that defied conventional understanding, as if an unseen hand was redrawing the boundaries between natural laws. Energy currents that once flowed in steady, predictable patterns became erratic, and matter itself began to exhibit behaviors that had not been witnessed for generations. Structures, both celestial and terrestrial, responded in kind. Stars flickered with unusual brilliance, planets showed signs of uncharacteristic disturbances, and landscapes underwent rapid transformations that left experts scrambling for explanations. This immediate impact was not confined to isolated phenomena. Rather, it cascaded outward, linking disparate aspects of the universe in a complex web of cause and effect. The direct influence of the reemergence was most evident in the realm of cosmic balance. Fundamental forces that had maintained equilibrium for eons were now subject to a new variable, one that threatened to tip the scales toward unpredictability. The natural order of gravitational pulls, electromagnetic fields, and quantum interactions experienced sudden surges, resulting in phenomena that ranged from the formation of unanticipated vortices to the sudden dissipation of energy in localized bursts. These events, occurring on scales both minute and astronomical, were a testament to the force's capacity to interact with the underlying structure of the cosmos. It was as though the rules of engagement had been rewritten, leaving behind a universe that was at once familiar and utterly transformed. Amidst this cosmic recalibration, living systems were not spared from the immediate repercussions. Ecosystems, which had evolved under the guidance of long-standing environmental cues, began to display anomalies that could only be described as disconcerting. Flora and fauna, reacting to the altered energy dynamics, manifested changes in growth patterns, behaviors, and even genetic expressions. In certain regions, plant life burst forth with an intensity that seemed to defy seasonal norms, while animals exhibited migratory and reproductive behaviors that were entirely foreign to their historical patterns. These biological responses, in turn, contributed to a broader ecological instability that threatened to upend established cycles of life and death, sparking concerns about the long-term viability of various species. On a societal level, the impact reverberated with immediate and palpable force. Communities across the spectrum, urban centers, rural settlements, and remote enclaves alike, found themselves confronting an environment that was shifting in real time. Infrastructure, designed around the presumption of a steady world, began to fail under the strain of unpredictable energy surges and environmental anomalies. Electrical grids experienced fluctuations that rendered technology unreliable, while transportation networks were disrupted by unforeseen natural phenomena. The ripple effects of these disturbances forced human institutions to adapt rapidly, as conventional methods of governance and resource management faltered in the wake of a universe that no longer behaved as expected. Intellectual circles and scientific communities were likewise thrust into a state of urgency. The immediate aftermath of the awakening spurred a renaissance of inquiry, as researchers from diverse disciplines scrambled to develop new theories that could account for the observed anomalies. Laboratories became epicenters of experimentation, where the altered laws of physics were probed with unprecedented fervor. Theoretical models that had once provided a sturdy framework for understanding reality were now in need of radical revision. This period of intense study was characterized by a flurry of discoveries, each one underscoring the pervasive influence of the reawakened power on every scale of existence. The profound alterations extended to the metaphysical realm as well, where long-held beliefs about the structure of reality were suddenly called into question. Philosophers, mystics, and spiritual practitioners reported experiences that hinted at a fundamental shift in the collective consciousness. Perceptions of time, space, and existence were reframed by encounters that defied logic and transcended empirical verification. In this altered state, the universe appeared to communicate its newfound dynamism through symbols and sensations that resonated deeply with those attuned to its mysteries. These phenomena, occurring without warning, created an environment where the boundary between the tangible and the intangible grew increasingly blurred, leaving an indelible mark on the psyche of all who witnessed them. In summary, the immediate impact of the resurgence was both far-reaching and multifaceted, touching every aspect of existence from the cosmic to the personal. The universe, in its newfound volatility, was thrust into a state of accelerated transformation, one that compelled both natural and sentient systems to adapt or risk obsolescence. The reawakening not only altered the physical properties of the world, but also redefined the very parameters of what was considered possible, casting a long shadow over the future and demanding a re-evaluation of every established principle. In the realm where myth merges with modern storytelling, there exists a cluster of elements that set the phenomenon apart and fuel ongoing debates among fans. The renewed stir attributed to Fiddlesticks is not merely a resurgence of an age-old menace. It has evolved into a multifaceted enigma that challenges both conventional narrative frameworks and the community's understanding of fear and transformation. One of the most striking aspects discussed is the duality of Fiddlesticks as both an embodiment of ancient terror and a mirror reflecting contemporary anxieties. Fans are fascinated by how this presence, drawn from deep-rooted legends, is portrayed with attributes that resonate with modern sensibilities, including the blurred lines between reality and digital myth. This duality invites analysis of how the character simultaneously honors tradition and reinvents itself to address the challenges of a new era. Another point of lively discussion is the intricate symbolism embedded in the resurgence. The renewed force is not a straightforward villain, but a layered archetype that encapsulates themes of decay and rebirth. Observers note that every visual detail, every nuanced reference to forgotten lore, appears deliberately chosen to evoke a sense of timeless dread while hinting at a radical metamorphosis. This has spurred theories suggesting that the revival is an allegory for societal cycles, a metaphor for the collapse of outdated systems and the emergence of new paradigms. The symbolism in the design and narrative is celebrated for its capacity to inspire varied interpretations, from representing the inevitable rise of chaos to embodying the hidden potentials for renewal that lie in the darkest recesses of collective memory. Intertwined with the aesthetic and narrative subtleties is the idea that Fiddlesticks' reawakening has a self-referential quality. Some fans argue that the phenomenon is as much a commentary on its own mythos as it is a continuation of the lore. There is a persistent buzz about the possibility that the event was designed to play with the audience's expectations, subverting well-known tropes while encouraging a meta-discussion on the evolution of horror in contemporary media. This self-awareness has given rise to creative reinterpretations and fan-made content, which in turn feeds back into the collective narrative. The interplay between creator intent and community reception has become a topic of intense analysis, with discussions often delving into how ambiguity and open-ended symbolism enhance the depth of the phenomenon. A further captivating element is the role of ambient storytelling in shaping the community's experience. Instead of a linear recounting of events, the narrative surrounding the reawakening is dispersed across various media, including fragmented lore documents, cryptic messages, and subtle environmental cues. Fans relish the challenge of piecing together these disparate hints, which has transformed the phenomenon into an interactive puzzle. This approach to storytelling, which demands active engagement and interpretation, has reinvigorated debates on the nature of narrative immersion and the power of decentralized myth-making. The process of deciphering clues has fostered a vibrant subculture where enthusiasts share theories, cross-reference historical motifs, and celebrate the unexpected intersections of art, technology, and folklore. Additionally, the resurgence has inspired discussions about the inherent unpredictability of forces that defy complete understanding. The community frequently emphasizes the allure of uncertainty, the idea that some aspects of Fiddlesticks' return remain purposefully ambiguous, inviting endless reinterpretation. This sense of mystery is a deliberate design choice that challenges the desire for clear-cut explanations and encourages a mindset that embraces complexity. Fans often cite this uncertainty as a driving factor behind their continued interest, as it leaves ample room for fresh perspectives and evolving narratives. Rather than offering definitive answers, the phenomenon thrives on its capacity to provoke more questions than it resolves, embodying an ever-shifting landscape of ideas and emotions. The aesthetic presentation of the resurgence also garners significant attention. Unique visual motifs, carefully crafted soundscapes, and subtle narrative cues have all contributed to a distinct sensory experience that reinforces the otherworldly nature of the event. Many enthusiasts are captivated by how these elements coalesce to create an atmosphere that is at once unsettling and mesmerizing. The interplay of light and shadow, the deliberate use of color contrasts, and the integration of abstract symbols work in concert to evoke a visceral reaction. Such artistry not only elevates the overall impact of the phenomenon, but also sparks discussions on the evolution of visual storytelling in an age where digital and traditional forms of art converge. Moreover, the phenomenon has become a rallying point for broader cultural commentary. In many discussions, it is positioned as a reflection of the tensions between progress and tradition, order and chaos. The renewed force is seen as a manifestation of the hidden undercurrents that disrupt complacency, prompting both introspection and dialogue about the nature of power, control, and the inevitable cycle of destruction and creation. Fans explore parallels between these themes and contemporary societal issues, often drawing analogies that extend far beyond the confines of the lore itself. This broader relevance has transformed what might have been seen as a niche narrative into a compelling allegory that resonates with diverse audiences. In essence, the unique aspects of this phenomenon lie in its ability to operate on multiple levels simultaneously. It is an intricate tapestry woven from threads of ancient myth, modern innovation, symbolic depth, and interactive storytelling. The continual evolution of its narrative, fueled by a community that delights in exploring every nuance, ensures that the discussion remains dynamic and ever-expanding. This complex interplay of artistic, thematic, and participatory elements makes the resurgence a singular event in the collective imagination, one that challenges conventions and opens up new avenues for understanding the role of myth in contemporary culture. In the midst of an unfolding phenomenon that defies simple categorization, a number of individuals have emerged as singular embodiments of its multifaceted impact. These personalities stand apart from collective groups and institutional factions, each defined by unique qualities, distinct aims, and personal strengths and weaknesses that color the broader narrative. Their individual journeys and internal conflicts provide a human dimension to the complex tapestry of events, inviting deep reflection and spirited debate among those who seek to understand the resurgence. One notable figure is a relentless seeker of truth, driven by an unquenchable curiosity about the hidden layers of history and the subtleties of ancient lore. This individual combines a methodical mind with an intuitive grasp of symbolism, enabling a rare ability to perceive patterns where others see only chaos. Their academic rigor is matched by an almost poetic sensibility, which has earned them admiration as well as criticism. While their analytical prowess often reveals insights into the deeper currents underlying the phenomenon, they are also prone to moments of introspection that border on isolation. The weight of esoteric knowledge sometimes isolates them from practical concerns, leaving them vulnerable to bouts of self-doubt about the relevance of their discoveries to the immediate challenges faced by the community. Another prominent personality is a visionary leader whose charismatic presence and steadfast determination have galvanized segments of society into taking decisive action. With an air of unflinching resolve, this figure is both a strategist and a unifier, skilled in articulating a vision that reconciles traditional wisdom with the urgent needs of a rapidly shifting environment. Their strength lies in the capacity to inspire and mobilize people through clear communication and an unwavering belief in collective progress. However, their commitment to preserving order and continuity occasionally pits them against innovators who advocate for radical change. This tension reveals a vulnerability, a tendency to adhere too closely to established protocols even when new circumstances call for bolder, more adaptive approaches. Their internal struggle between safeguarding the familiar and embracing transformative ideas remains a focal point of debate among their peers. A third individual is celebrated for their creative brilliance and narrative artistry, which reframe the resurgence in ways that resonate deeply on an emotional level. This gifted storyteller channels the raw energy of the phenomenon into artistic expressions that blend modern sensibilities with echoes of ancient myth. Their work serves as a bridge between disparate epochs, evoking powerful images that stir both hope and trepidation. Despite the undeniable allure of their creations, this artist grapples with the challenge of maintaining clarity amid abstraction. Their strength in evoking visceral responses is sometimes undermined by an elusive focus. In their quest to capture the ineffable, they occasionally leave their audience with more questions than answers. The balance between evocative ambiguity and coherent messaging remains a delicate, ongoing pursuit in their creative journey. In a different sphere, a pragmatic innovator has emerged as a key individual whose expertise in technology and data analysis provides a modern counterpoint to the age-old mysteries at play. This technologist is driven by the desire to harness contemporary tools to monitor and interact with the unpredictable forces at work. Their work is characterized by a blend of precision and adaptability, allowing them to devise novel strategies that translate complex phenomena into actionable insights. Their greatest strength is a capacity for rapid problem-solving, leveraging advanced methodologies to forge connections between seemingly disparate pieces of information. Yet, this analytical approach is not without its drawbacks. The technologist sometimes finds that rigid adherence to empirical models leaves little room for the intuitive leaps required to grasp the full scope of the enigma, and moments of frustration arise when technology fails to capture the nuances of a reality that defies strict quantification. A further distinguished personality is one who has taken on the role of mediator and healer amid the chaos unleashed by the reawakening. This individual possesses a profound empathy and an innate talent for bridging divides, seeking to reconcile conflicting perspectives within a community fragmented by uncertainty. Their approach is defined by a commitment to dialogue, inclusivity, and restorative practices that nurture both individual and collective well-being. Their strength lies in an ability to listen deeply, offering comfort and pragmatic solutions even when the situation appears intractable. However, their compassionate nature is a double-edged sword. The intensity of emotional engagement can sometimes leave them exposed to the very strains they aim to alleviate, and their efforts to maintain harmony are occasionally overshadowed by the personal toll of relentless concern for others. Each of these individuals contributes a unique perspective to the phenomenon, embodying both the promise and the peril inherent in an event that challenges established paradigms. Their distinct qualities, ranging from intellectual acuity and visionary leadership to creative expression, technical innovation, and heartfelt mediation, offer rich material for ongoing discussion within the community. As they navigate personal strengths and confront internal weaknesses, these figures not only shape the unfolding narrative, but also inspire broader reflections on the nature of power, transformation, and resilience in the face of overwhelming change. In their diverse approaches and multifaceted identities, they represent a living archive of the phenomenon's human dimension, a testament to the enduring complexity of individual will when confronted with forces that echo through time. Despite extensive investigation and a multitude of interpretations, numerous questions remain unresolved, sparking fervent debate within the community. Central to these discussions is the mystery of the catalyst itself. What exact conditions or events triggered the long-dormant force to stir once more? Some theorists suggest that subtle shifts in environmental and cosmic energies created an imbalance too significant to ignore, while others point to a convergence of forgotten rituals and ancient symbols that, when aligned, unlocked a latent potential. The debate centers on whether the awakening was a spontaneous anomaly or the culmination of deliberate, albeit hidden, interventions by forces unknown. Another contentious issue revolves around the nature of the energy that underpins the phenomenon. Several schools of thought argue that this energy transcends conventional classifications, defying easy description as either physical or metaphysical. Some propose that it exists as a unique form of matter-energy hybrid that interacts with reality in ways that challenge our understanding of physics and cosmology. This perspective is bolstered by reports of inexplicable fluctuations in natural laws, prompting theorists to consider the possibility that the resurgence may be an expression of a higher dimensional force that momentarily disrupted familiar boundaries. Such theories are met with both intrigue and skepticism, leaving room for countless interpretations that have yet to be substantiated. A related, unresolved question is the degree to which collective human consciousness might play a role in this awakening. There is a growing body of speculation suggesting that the shared fears, hopes, and memories embedded within cultural narratives could exert an influence on the physical manifestation of this force. According to some, the phenomenon might be as much a psychological projection as it is a tangible reality, manifesting through the convergence of belief systems and shared experiences. This idea challenges the traditional separation between subjective perception and objective occurrence, inviting a dialogue on whether our mental landscapes might directly interact with forces that operate on a cosmic scale. The lack of empirical evidence to firmly establish this connection only adds to the allure and complexity of the discussion. Another intriguing point of contention is the role of symbolism and myth in interpreting the resurgence. Many enthusiasts point to recurring motifs found in ancient texts, folklore, and even modern reinterpretations as evidence that the event was foretold long ago. Yet the exact significance of these symbols remains elusive. While some argue that they serve as cryptic guides to understanding the resurgence, others contend that the symbols are merely the byproduct of a human tendency to impose order on chaos. The unresolved debate over whether these motifs are intentional signifiers or coincidental echoes of a universal pattern continues to fuel speculation. This debate touches upon broader themes of fate, destiny, and the interplay between predetermined cycles and random chance, each theory offering a unique lens through which to view the mystery. Equally captivating are the differing opinions on the ultimate purpose of the re-emergence. A segment of the community maintains that the awakening is a harbinger of transformative change, destined to disrupt outdated structures and herald a new era. Proponents of this view see the phenomenon as a necessary catalyst that forces society to confront and overcome its deepest limitations. In contrast, another faction argues that the resurgence is a reminder of the perennial dangers that lurk beneath the veneer of modern progress, a reassertion of chaos that challenges the stability and predictability upon which civilization is built. These opposing interpretations raise important questions about whether the event is a sign of renewal or a portent of destruction, and no consensus has been reached despite years of passionate debate. A further unresolved aspect involves the timing and periodicity of the reawakening. Some researchers have observed patterns in historical accounts that suggest the phenomenon may be cyclical, occurring at intervals that coincide with other significant cosmic or cultural events. However, the evidence for such cycles is largely circumstantial, and the precise mechanisms governing any periodicity remain speculative. This lack of clarity has led to diverse theories, ranging from mathematical models predicting future occurrences to more mystical assertions that the cycles are governed by forces beyond human comprehension. The question of whether the resurgence is part of an endless loop or a unique, unrepeatable event continues to provoke discussion and critical inquiry. The community is also divided over the implications of the re-emergence for our understanding of history and destiny. Some insist that the event is a turning point, a moment that irrevocably alters the trajectory of future developments. They argue that the awakening forces a re-evaluation of long-held narratives and compels a confrontation with hidden truths that have been suppressed over time. Others, however, view the phenomenon as an anomaly, an isolated incident that, while significant, does not necessarily dictate the course of history. This debate touches on deep philosophical questions about the nature of progress and whether events of such magnitude are harbingers of inevitable transformation or merely transient disruptions in an otherwise continuous flow. Moreover, there is a considerable gap in understanding the interactions between the awakened force and other existing entities or phenomena. While some suggest that there is a symbiotic relationship, whereby the force both influences and is influenced by other aspects of the universe, others propose that it operates independently, a wild card that defies integration into established frameworks. This raises further questions about the broader ecosystem in which the phenomenon exists, challenging theorists to consider whether its effects are localized or if they ripple out to alter fundamental aspects of reality on a universal scale. The lack of consensus on these interactions leaves a fertile ground for further exploration and debate. In sum, the array of unresolved questions and theories surrounding the resurgence remains a testament to its enduring complexity and mystique. Each unanswered inquiry opens new avenues for exploration, fueling discussions that span the boundaries of science, philosophy, and art. As researchers and enthusiasts continue to analyze every fragment of evidence, the debate grows ever more intricate, ensuring that the phenomenon remains a vibrant and dynamic subject of inquiry. The interplay of diverse perspectives, ranging from empirical analysis to speculative interpretation, ensures that the mystery of the reawakening remains an open-ended puzzle, one that challenges us to continually reassess the nature of reality itself. Over the long haul, the ramifications of this reawakening have begun to shape a future that is as uncertain as it is transformative. The cosmic order, once taken for granted, now appears as a malleable construct, subject to reinterpretation and gradual reformation. As time unfolds, the lingering influence of this phenomenon is anticipated to permeate not only the physical realm, but also the collective consciousness of civilizations across the universe. The ensuing era may witness a redefinition of natural laws and societal constructs, leading to outcomes that oscillate between hopeful renewal and unforeseen peril. In the distant future, one possible consequence is the emergence of a radically altered cosmology. Scientific paradigms that have long served as the foundation for understanding reality may undergo significant revision as evidence accumulates of forces that operate outside conventional frameworks. Researchers and thinkers from various disciplines might develop innovative theories that reconcile empirical observation with the inexplicable. This shift could ultimately result in a more holistic comprehension of the universe, one that embraces both measurable phenomena and the ineffable mysteries that once defied explanation. Yet, this evolution in thought carries the risk of unsettling established norms, challenging centuries-old doctrines, and igniting debates that may fracture intellectual communities. The eventual integration of these new ideas could lead to groundbreaking technologies and methods of inquiry, but it might also open the door to ethical quandaries and conflicts over resource distribution in a reimagined world. On the social and cultural front, the impact is likely to be equally profound. As the long-term effects of this resurgence permeate daily life, communities may undergo a profound transformation in their collective identity and values. The resurgence could serve as a catalyst for a renaissance in art, literature, and philosophy, inspiring new forms of expression that articulate the complex interplay between ancient myth and modern reality. Over generations, narratives may evolve that celebrate resilience and adaptability, while also warning of the dangers inherent in tampering with forces that lie beyond human control. This duality of interpretation might foster a culture marked by both reverence for the past and an eager pursuit of innovation. Yet, the integration of such divergent views could lead to internal strife, as traditionalists clash with progressive factions over the correct path forward. The long-term outcome may depend on society's ability to forge a balanced approach that honors historical wisdom while embracing transformative change. The economic and political landscapes are also poised for significant alteration. As the renewed energy continues to affect the universe's fundamental interactions, resource management and governance structures might be forced to adapt rapidly. Emerging markets could capitalize on new technologies that harness the unusual properties of this force, leading to shifts in power dynamics among established institutions. In this new order, nations and communities may find themselves compelled to reassess alliances, trade relations, and systems of regulation. The promise of unprecedented advancements may drive economic growth and social progress, yet it could also breed instability as traditional power centers struggle to maintain their influence. The long-term impact on governance might manifest as a more decentralized and fluid system, one in which adaptability and innovation become the primary currencies of stability. However, if these changes are not managed with care, the resulting disparities could exacerbate existing inequalities and incite conflict on scales previously unimaginable. Environmental consequences, too, cannot be overlooked. As the reawakened force continues to interact with natural ecosystems, the evolution of flora, fauna, and even planetary systems might accelerate in unforeseen ways. Ecosystems that have thrived under predictable cycles may be compelled to adapt, giving rise to new biological configurations that challenge conventional understandings of evolution and sustainability. This transformation holds the promise of revitalized biodiversity and novel ecological interactions that could benefit the planet. Conversely, the disruption of established ecological balances may also trigger cascading effects that undermine long-term environmental stability. The struggle to harmonize the enduring rhythms of nature with the disruptive influence of the force will likely become a defining challenge for future generations, shaping environmental policies and conservation strategies on a global scale. At a metaphysical level, the long-term consequences extend into the realm of spirituality and existential inquiry. The presence of an enduring force that defies straightforward classification is expected to spark a profound reassessment of humanity's place within the cosmos. Philosophers, mystics, and spiritual leaders might converge on new doctrines that seek to interpret the significance of this phenomenon in terms of cosmic destiny and personal transformation. This evolving perspective could foster a deeper sense of unity and purpose among diverse cultures, or it might lead to ideological polarization as groups vie to claim the correct interpretation of events. Over time, these divergent interpretations may either coalesce into a new, inclusive narrative that bridges ancient wisdom and modern insight, or fracture into competing ideologies that redefine the nature of belief itself. Ultimately, the long-term effects of this resurgence are likely to be complex and multifaceted, producing outcomes that are neither entirely positive nor wholly negative. The interplay of renewed cosmic forces with evolving societal values, scientific innovation, and ecological adaptation promises to generate a future where old certainties give way to new paradigms. Whether these changes will result in a utopian reimagining of reality or descend into chaos and conflict depends on the collective capacity for resilience, cooperation, and visionary leadership. The enduring legacy of this phenomenon, therefore, lies in its potential to catalyze a transformative era, one in which the universe itself is redefined, challenging every generation to navigate the delicate balance between creation and destruction with wisdom and courage.